Welcome to InfoHub Recap. We look back at the past week's main issues. In our headlines, President David Granger returns home after a second round of treatment. This week saw several government ministries' budget allocations for 2019 being passed in the National Assembly. DPI clarifies misleading articles in sections of the media, and ExxonMobil donates over $8 million worth of equipment to Faculty of Natural Sciences. These stories and much more in this week's InfoHub Recap. We begin by telling you on Monday, December 10, the consideration of the 2019 budget estimates began, and the Committee of Supply has approved more than $2 billion for the Ministry of the Presidency's capital and current expenditure. Here's our first report.
Ministry of State Joseph Harmon said among the capital works to be undertaken in 2019 is the upgrade of the electrical infrastructure at the Guyana Lands and Service Commission. The commission has been allocated $163 million.
The Lands and Service Commission is under better management. And in fact, what is happening is that in the first case, there's some $30 million allocated to electrical work at the head office. This is a building that, because of changes that have taken place over the years, they've had to now make a decision to rewire the entire building because of the quality of equipment which are coming in there now, that they're subject to all sorts of voltage fluctuations and so on. So they're going to spend $30 million to do that, since no upgrade was done in this regard for over 40 years.
The state minister said some $12 million will be spent to improve the National Intelligence Center as the government continues to invest in national security.
This $12.5 million is basically to improve the capacity of the NIC to store information and to be able to provide better coverage for the national intelligence and security system.
The minister was at the time responding to questions put by the opposition members of parliament regarding sums allocated in the 2019 budgetary estimates for current and capital spending by the Ministry of the Presidency. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Delicia Haynes tells us that the Department of Citizenship will be equipping and effectively operationalizing passport and immigration offices in the regions as part of its decentralization efforts. This is part of a $1.55 billion allocation which has been approved in the Parliamentary Committee of Supply.
Part of the allocation was $713.5 million for the furnishing and outfitting of several regional passport offices throughout Guyana. Answering for the estimates on behalf of Minister of Citizenship was Minister of Public Affairs Dawn Hastings Williams.
Automated Passport Control, or APC. We're purchasing 10 at the cost of 6.6 each, and that will give you a total cost of 66.4. Passport issuing control systems, workstations, which will be in regions 2, 4, 7, and 9. We're purchasing 33 of such equipment at the cost of $10 million each, which will give you to the total sum of $330 million. Border Management Systems, or BMS, and Warm Standby Site, we're procuring 36 of such at a unit cost of $7 million, which will give you a total cost of $252 million. Printers for certificates, we're procuring 6 of such at 2.5 each, which will give you $15 million total. And then we have microfilm reader. We're purchasing 4 of such.
Meanwhile, other areas which this $1.5 billion allocation caters for include the procurement of passports and birth certificates with new and improved security features. Also catered for under the department's budget are routine maintenance of the Stephen Campbell House and the continuation of the digitization project at the General Registrar's Office, which is about 80% complete and will come to an end in August 2019. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
Still on Monday, with the conclusion of their training course, 56 aquaculture farmers are now equipped to operate their own facilities. Over the weekend, they toured the Satadillo Saw Aquaculture Station at Monrepo. Felicia Valenzuela reports.
On Saturday, the participants were guided by Professor Chen Zaiyu from the Fujian Institute of Oceanography on the proper method of testing water for foreign bodies and oxygen, which, if not done correctly, can threaten the life of the fish. They were also given a step-by-step guide on fish dissection. Nikita Duki, Fisheries Officer from the Ministry of Agriculture, says the site visit and tours are part of the education process as it affords the participants hands-on training. The course, which began on November 28, officially ends today. Speaking at the graduation ceremony, Counselor of the Chinese Embassy in Guyana, Mr. Chen Zailai, says the training was aimed at improving the integrated technology and management level of aquaculture in Guyana so as to promote industry development. Mr. Chen says based on the enthusiasm of the participants during the course, coupled with continued collaboration between the two countries, he expects a further growth of the industry.
There is an old saying in China, where there is a will, there is a way. We believe that under the leadership of the Guyanese government, especially the Ministry of Agriculture in Guyana, together with the joint efforts of the participants, business investors, and numerous farmers, aquaculture in Guyana will start a new development model so as to promote the all-around construction of fishery industrial chain in Guyana.
This year marks 46 years since Guyana and China began diplomatic relations, and according to Mr. Chen, China remains committed to further strengthening these relations in the various fields.
Under the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, China is willing to continue to actively expand and deepen cooperation with Guyana in various fields, and continue to provide support to Guyana's social and economic development and improvement of people's livelihood within our power, so as to assist sustainable and healthy development of Guyana's economy and escalate the cooperative relationship between our two countries to a new level.
The participants of the program came from the private sector, government agencies, civil society, security services, the University of Ghana, and farmers from across the region. Reporting for InfoHub, Felicia Valenzuela.
Forest operators in Region 10 were recently sensitized on the need to acquire authorization from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, to conduct certain activities. Anara Khan has the details.
Forest operators in the communities of Kokwani, Aichuni, Great Falls, 58 Miles, Hururu, and Araima benefited from the workshop hosted by the Environmental Protection Agency. During those sessions, it was emphasized that loggers must acquire environmental authorization from the EPA before utilizing forest resources. EPA Senior Environmental Officer Karen Small Sr. explains.
The environmental authorization should be first development consent. It means before you get authorization from any other government body, you need an environmental authorization. And so that is why we're here today, to say that to the loggers that you need an environmental authorization. It is by law.
During the workshop, forest operators were given a full overview of the EPA and its operations. They were also educated on the need to be authorized and taken step by step through the process of applying. The efforts by the EPA were welcomed by the loggers.
I knew it was necessary for things like gas stations and so on, but I never really saw a connection between environmental authorization and the forest operations. So today I was informed about that, and very clearly.
It's beneficial on our side, and we're grateful for that because, you know, we can go down, even if we thought it was the right way, now we know for sure what is right, what is wrong, what we should and should not do, right? So I think, yes, it's a plus to them, and we're going to try our best to do what is right and to work with them hand in hand, hoping that we can make and we can maintain a good environment for everybody.
The exercise will last for 1 year and will be conducted countrywide to bring other forest operators on board. The environmental authorization application process cost approximately 10,000 Guyana dollars, and once approved, 20,000 Guyana dollars per year, or loggers have the option of paying 100,000 Guyana dollars for a max environmental authorization, which is valid for 5 years. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
On Tuesday, President David Granger returned home after having completed the second round of medical treatment and evaluation at the Center for Surgical Medical Research in Havana. The Cuban team of specialists restated their complete satisfaction with the president's response to medical treatment and explained that they will continue to monitor his progress in the coming weeks. The head of state again expressed his gratitude to the Cuban government and the team of specialists for the treatment that he is being afforded in Havana. Also on Tuesday, the consideration of the 2019 budget estimates continued. More than $17 billion was approved for capital and current spending by the Ministry of Agriculture in 2019. The National Drainage and Irrigation Authority to take over primary drainage in the capital city. Felicia Valenzuela joins us again with that report.
Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder says the decision follows recommendations made by a cabinet subcommittee which recommended the change in how drainage is managed in the capital city in coastal Guyana.
Of not only the declared but the undeclared drainage and irrigation areas to NDIA, and also for the primary drainage in the Georgetown area, which means that come January the 1st, if the budget is approved, of course, the NDIA will be possible for all the main canals to ensure that and the outfall channels are clean.
In addition, Minister Holder says part of the agency's capital budget will see the acquisition and installation of mobile pumps to alleviate flooding around the city.
When the pumps come in from India, 4 mobile pumps will be allocated to Georgetown. The internal water drainage will be the responsibility of the Mayor and City Council. But certainly, prime drainage will be NDI's responsibility, and you should see a tremendous improvement in the drainage of Georgetown and hopefully the entire coastal area commencing 2019.
The Committee of Supplies of the National Assembly today approved more than $17 billion for the 2019 capital and current expenditure of the Ministry of Agriculture. Among the agencies which have received approval are the Fisheries Department, the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, NARI, and the Hydrometeorological Department. Reporting for InfoHub, Felicia Valenzuela.
Still under consideration of budget estimates, the Department of Public Information clarified several erroneous articles published in sections of the media. Anara Khan is back with the details.
Following Monday's consideration of estimates for the Prime Minister's Secretariat, several media houses have published articles framed in a way meant to misinform and deceive the public. One such article concerns the dismissal of the Commissioner of Information and the non-allocation of funds for his office. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu explained to the Committee of Supply the Commissioner of Information was dismissed after rendering his office dysfunctional and added that funds were in fact allocated under another line item.
There was no allocation for the Commissioner of Information. The Commissioner having been dismissed for rendering his office dysfunctional. He has rendered no report, has provided no account of what he has done, and no provision has been made on the 6321, but we are re-examining the issue of the Office of the Commissioner of Information under 6284.
Another article circulating online deals with the allocation of funds for the services of a graphic artist responsible for laying out the department's 7 publications. It was alleged that DPI engages the loan services of a high-ranking executive of the Alliance for Change, who is also the spouse of the editor-in-chief and acting deputy director. In a release today, DPI clarified that for the year 2018, the services of 5 graphic artists have been engaged, 4 of whom also worked on the publications. In addition, the graphic artist named in the article provided services to DPI well before his spouse came into the employ of the department. Any insinuation that his spouse influenced his engagement with DPI is false. The release also stated that DPI recognizes the right of all Guyanese to work and proudly has on staff persons of various political persuasions, religious beliefs, and ethnicities. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
The University of Guyana's Faculty of Natural Sciences was given a boost with the donation of over $8 million in equipment by ExxonMobil. Neola Damon was at the presentation and filed this report.
This donation was made following a request after a fire in 2015 destroyed the section of the Faculty of Natural Sciences that housed the equipment for various departments. Professor Ivelaw Griffith, Vice-Chancellor of the university, says that this initiative is one which highlights the determination of the department to reinvent itself and build new partnership while doing so.
It matters that the investment ExxonMobil, along with the university, is making in this donation is a recognition, as the Dean said, of the vital importance of rebuilding physics in a significant way, not only physics qua physics, but physics because of the importance of other enterprises on the university.
Rod Henson, country manager for ExxonMobil, says it has been envisioned that Guyana will develop beyond its current stature, and initiatives such as these will ensure all are prepared to benefit from the expected future economy.
Education is a fundamental building block of individual opportunity. And STEM skills in particular are critical to ensuring that today's students are going to be prepared for those future opportunities, those jobs of the future, both in Guyana and in the broader world. Support in this area, in fact, is really a strategic investment in the future generations of Guyana, and we're proud to be part of this important project that will continue to advance math and science education here at UG.
Among the highly specialized equipment purchased was a Beta multi-purpose comma corrector, a wireless temperature sensor, a demo mirror concave, one Meet Series 5000 HD 6-day eyepiece kit, one Orion XX 16G Go-To Truss Dobson Ian telescope, among others. Neil Diman, InfoHub.
On Wednesday, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure's 2019 budget reallocation was given the green light, and with this, residents of Kokwani will soon benefit from 24 hours of power supply. Here is that report.
The $38.5 billion allocated to the Ministry of Public Infrastructure was approved by the Committee of Supply on Tuesday evening for its current and capital expenditure during 2019. Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson noted that a portion of the funds will provide for the purchase of fuel to supply 24 hours of electricity to Kokwani.
It is for not only fuel, sir, it is also, there are also other costs. This KUI, Kokwani Utilities Inc. are in charge of not only electricity, water, sanitation, several other, all the utilities in Kokwani. So this money here caters for that for 24 hours in 2019.
Kokwani Utility Incorporated is managed by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure's Hinterland Electrification Company Incorporated, which ensures hinterland communities have an adequate power supply. Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Annette Ferguson, said other works are in the pipeline to improve the provision of electricity in the hinterland.
Installation of a 400 kilowatt solar PV farm at Mabaruma, that's in region number 1. Installation of a metal lattice tower to support electricity distribution lines across the Port Kaituma River, $20 million Ghana dollars. Extension of the distribution network at Mokamaka and residents within the proximity of Rodo Ground in region number 9. And upgrade distribution for the two will cost $20 million Ghana dollars.
HECI was allocated the sum of $233.5 million to ensure continuity and support of its socio-economic and development plan. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
Minister of Education Dr. Nicolette Henry has defended the allocation to the school feeding program, highlighting its expansion across the country. Details from Alexis Rodney.
Minister Henry was responding to queries by Opposition Member of Parliament Priya Manichan on day 3 of the consideration of the budget estimates.
We would have said to the nation that we intend to expand the school feeding program, and we did just that. And we will continue to expand the program further until we address those that are most vulnerable and disadvantaged. We will go to every vulnerable child and in every vulnerable community in this country.
This reach extends even more to communities where parents have been retrenched following the closure of the sugar estates.
I wish to state that sugar workers' children were given special consideration as they fall into the category of children that will also require this support.
The ministry's school feeding program is aimed at building more community participation in schools and improving children's human development outcomes, such as student enrollment and attendance, nutritional status, and learning outcomes. Consequently, the program has tackled unemployment and underemployment. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Continuing with our coverage on Wednesday, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu commended the Guyana Police Force for the decrease in the crime rate from the obscene levels once experienced under the former administration.
You have reduced crimes from 1,403 or thereabout in 2014 to a three-digit number. 965 was the last figure I've seen. And you did a good job because as policemen, your job is always to avoid the 4 letters and the 4 numbers. 4 letters always is a bad word, right? And you brought it down from 4 to 3.
Prime Minister Nagamutu also commended the force for having increased its number of prosecutions compared to the immediate past.
I give kudos to the leadership and the police force for having worked diligently to produce this result. And I can tell you also that in these last months, or in fact over the last 2 years, you have had more prosecution than any time before.
The Prime Minister noted that despite the increased number of prosecutions by the Guyana Police Force under the current government, there has not been any credible accusation of prosecutable torture leveled at the force. In 2009, Minister of Public Security Kemaraj Ramjatan, then a lawyer, took the Guyana Police Force to court for the lighting a fire of the genitals of a 15-year-old boy in police custody. The Prime Minister spoke earlier at the police force's annual Christmas breakfast earlier today. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
Moving on to Thursday, Minister of Education Nicolette Henry visited President's College for breakfast with the students. The minister said the government has increased funding for meals for students at President's College by 100%. Details in this story.
Minister Henry said the increased funding for students' meal will increase their dietary supply. The minister joined students of the school located in Golden Grove on the east coast of the Marara for breakfast this morning.
I believe that this is certainly a good gesture, and I look forward to continue improving the conditions and the opportunities for our students here in Guyana, and this has been an absolute joy for me.
Defending her ministry's budgetary allocations in the Committee of Supply yesterday, Minister Henry told the House that the allocation to President's College has seen an increase.
What I have here is the cost per day to feed a child at President's College. I can certainly ask my staff to break it down per meal, but if it would be of any use to you, it's $1,800 we pay a day for a child to feed them, and that's 3 meals. But I don't know if it's equal, and so I will ask my staff to break it out. What's the cost for breakfast? What's the cost for lunch? What's the cost for dinner? And I don't know if there are 2 snacks, but you can get that information. That certainly should not pose a challenge at all.
Responding to Opposition Member of Parliament Pauline Sakai's request for details of the composition of the meals, Minister Henry promised to lay over the information. The visit to President's College this morning was in keeping with the Christmas season. Addressing the students, the Education Minister promised that there will be improved and better meals offered at the institution from January 2019. Before her departure, Minister Henry urged the students to remain focused and be prepared for the upcoming examinations in 2019. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
On Friday, as the consideration of the 2019 budget estimates in the Committee of Supply concluded in the National Assembly, Minister Jordan said the Finance Ministry is stepping up its spending for the low-carbon development strategy. Paul McAdam has the details.
A breakdown of the $1.4 billion amount was announced to the National Assembly on December 14 during consideration of the Finance Ministry's 2019 budget estimates by Minister Winston Jordan.
The institutional strengthening for 2019 is being allocated $55.3 million. Our marine and land titling $73.7 million. The Cunyo Canal Rehabilitation, $219.8 million. ICT access and e-services for hinterland, poor and remote communities, $453.8 million. Sustainable land management and development, $551 million. Green State Economy Development Strategy, $27.7 million. And the trustee admin fee is $8.7 million.
The answer was in response to a question posed by the opposition about the program's funding. The funding is in keeping with the government's push towards developing a green state. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
The rehabilitation of the prisons in all three counties, particularly the Camp Street prison, will be realized in 2019 following the allocation of $35.6 billion to the public security sector. Here's that story.
During the final day of the consideration of estimates, Minister of Public Security Kemraj Ramjatan said that a consultancy design was prepared for the reconstruction of the Camp Street prison.
It is not going to be a complete building, as it were, if I could explain it. We are dealing here with a company out of America that has provided steel cell prisons for a number of countries in the Caribbean and Latin America. And it is a cell modular kind of arrangement whereby you can pack the cells up and go different heights, 2-story, 3-story, whatever, and it will be like that. So it is easily portable too. So if in view of the fact that we now have that and we want to move from Georgetown and go somewhere in Lusiknan or Kurukururu or wheresoever we propose our next prison, these steel cells can be easily removable.
The Public Security Minister said in addition to the rehabilitation of the prison facilities, plans are also in place to make the jails more self-sufficient by enhancing their abilities to produce their own food. Minister Ramjatan also explained that funds were allocated for the capacity building of prison officers.
Also, professionalism that we would have to, by process of continuously training and the leadership of the prison, talking to these ranks. Not to do that, and also personal judgment calls made by these officers. We're going to utilize that $50 million as best as possible to get more professionals in the prison.
Funding for the fight against narcotics is also catered for in the ministry's $35.6 billion budget. The Committee of Supply heard that money has been allocated to the National Anti-Narcotic Agency and the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit for 2019. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
We end this week's recap with the news that the University of Ghana's press launched its first publication, which covers a wide scope of diaspora engagements and engagement and entrepreneurial lessons. Details from Ayana George.
Last evening, the University of Ghana Press achieved another milestone at its first book publication held at the Education Lecture Theatre, UG Campus Turkine. Director for the Office of Strategic Initiatives at the University of Guyana, Dr. Fitzgerald Yaw, stated the launch of the book is an output of the Diaspora Conference held in 2017, partnered with international and regional universities and organizations.
This publication, the first of the University of Guyana Press, is part of the Renaissance Project for the University of Guyana, launched in 2016 by our Vice Chancellor. And this publication really, for me, is an example of the diaspora link at varying levels, which is so important to Guyanese and Caribbean development.
The director further stated that several engagements and partnerships will be held in 2019 with partnership from the School of Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation. Vice-Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Professor Ivelaw Griffith, said the book, which was facilitated through the institution's Renaissance Project, is a great achievement and aims to build UG's educational and economic enterprise.
The purpose of research is to be able to discover and find and share. Take what you have learned, take what you have discovered, and share it, apply it. To do that, we have got to have the opportunities, the outlets to share.
Professor Ivelaw stated that the Renaissance Project of the University of Guyana focuses on capital investment, academic enhancement, economic viability, alumni, and civic engineer. He noted that university's press is a part of a large concept aimed to bring on board new possibilities for Guyana's economy. For InfoHub, Ayana George.
You have been watching InfoHub Recap, where we shared the past week's top stories. Goodbye.